Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Inside Unreal, a weekly show where we learn, explore, and celebrate everything Unreal. I am your host, Tina, and thank you so much for coming and celebrating our annual year in review with us, which is a time where we get to look back on the outstanding projects and achievements of the past year. So before we dive in, I'm going to go ahead and go through and introduce our wonderful guests for the evening. So to start us off, Tim, thank you so much for being here today and joining us.
Ho, 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 and thanks for joining us. It's awesome to be back here again.
It's awesome to have you. Next, we have Saxs from the Fortnite team.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from Seattle.
Next, we have Michal representing development.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
And lastly, but certainly not least, we have Sjoerd, our community veteran.
Hello, everyone. It's very nice to be here.
Wonderful to have you. Thank you all so much for being here today and doing this. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's just get into it, right? Let's start off. We spent much of this year focused on bringing creators and developers from unique backgrounds and industries together. It can be a lot like building a game, kind of, when you think about it. You need folks from different specialties to come together, and with some time and iteration, you can create something extraordinary. This year, we've had incredible examples, such as the Project Titan Art Jam and brand new community spaces open up like the Epic for Indies initiative, to the community creating mind-boggling Unreal Editor for Fortnite Islands, top-notch games, and even award-winning films. It's all about building, creating, and thriving together, and having a lot of fun along the way, too. Tim, before we dig in, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how this past year went overall.
Sure, it's been a really busy year and a great one. We've been doing so much Unreal Engine feature development of all kinds. There have been some great games coming out. Wukong was a huge hit powered by Unreal Engine. Marvel Rivals is doing incredibly well. We've been really busy with Fortnite, pushing our games forward in there and also rolling out more and more creator tools over time through UEFN and diverse scripting language. I've been involved in that effort really closely, especially the scripting part of it. And yeah, we had some great releases throughout this year, but much more than that, we're setting up some great things for release next year, which are really going to change the game and enable you to build fundamentally more powerful things. And really excited about how that's coming together, benefiting Unreal Fortnite creators now, and coming to all Unreal Engine users in the future. Also had a really awesome Unreal Fest this year. I think this was really the coming of age for the event, kind of a defining moment for it. I've been through many generations of game industry conferences. First there was like Consumer Electronics Show, and then there was the Game Developers Conference. But each of them gets so big that at a certain point it becomes hard to connect with everybody there because it's such an overly broad audience. Whereas Unreal Fest was perfectly targeted. You see all of these talented Unreal developers from all these different industries getting together, sharing tricks, trying to recruit each other, and it was just a really wonderful event. So I'm really happy with this year. Of course, we launched Tab also. I guess we launched it. There's still a lot of work to do with it, and the launch was rocky, but it's off to a start, and we're at this point of adding lots and lots of features over time to make it better and better. So really excited about the state of things and very excited going into next year.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, with that, let's get started, shall we? First, we want to be super clear, right? Epic's tools are for everyone. Solo indies to major AAA studios are crafting exceptional games and films leveraging Unreal Engine. Players are turning into creators in Fortnite with Creative and Unreal Editor for Fortnite. And even beyond our creation tools, developers can benefit from Epic Online Services and the Epic Games Store. And the best part is, we have the privilege to bring all these folks together at Unreal Fest, kind of like you were just saying, Tim. Nothing quite like kicking things off with a party, right? So my question that I want to pose is, what's the most valuable part of these events? Why are we doing it? I'd love to hear from both you, Tim, and Saxs as well.
The most exciting part for me was seeing creators from all kinds of different industries get together and talk to each other and really learn from each other as well. We saw so many informal meetups where filmmakers and AAA game developers and UEFN creators were all getting together, sharing their ideas and tips. And there was also a little bit of a recruiting battle where the AAA game developers are trying to hire the UEFN folks, and they're then returning the favor and trying to hire the AAA guys. And I think that the younger generation is one at this Unreal Fest. It's really exciting to see that in the cross-pollination. It really shows that we're seeing a whole industry emerge here that's getting closer and closer together. It's not a bunch of separate businesses. It's really an interrelated digital content ecosystem that's emerging in which everybody plays a role, and everybody's using Unreal Engine in many, many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything you wanted to add, Saxs?
I think like the obvious part of Unreal Fest is like a chance for us to go deep on what we've been working on for this last year. But for me, like the real value of these meetups is the community that we're making of Unreal and UEFN developers. Like see them all come together, see them all be excited about like the features we have, all the requests they have, all the meetups in the hallways, and like the late night drinks or whatever. Like all of it is like extremely valuable for just showing like this is a bunch of people that are just that in many ways like they just want us to take to help us take the next step, like to realize their creative vision, to realize like everything that they always wanted to make, like our tool set at the center of it. I think it's an awesome responsibility, and every year we leave like so jazzed like to get back to the team and to not screw up our roadmaps, because there's a lot of developers that are waiting for us to get out that next feature that'll make their game become a reality. So I think it's just there's so much energy that comes from that, from both creators, but like very much also for everybody here at Epic.
Yeah, absolutely. I know from my perspective, from the community team perspective, right? A great example of kind of the essence of Fest to me and the opportunity for connection that Fest presents is we had a community member who originally started going to Fest, starting a few years ago, actually. And through Fest, they made some connections that ended up landing them a job in the industry. And this past year at Seattle, they ended up actually being one of the speakers for the event, which felt like a really cool full circle moment, seeing them level up basically through the event itself.
Yes, like that's all we can aspire to is to bring people together and sort of like find that missing piece that they have to get to the game that they want to make, in the movie they want to make, or whatever they want to make.
Yeah, absolutely. The lineup is starting to feel kind of like a band tour as well at this point. There's several Unreal Fest that are taking place around the globe. I mean, this past year, we actually had events in Gold Coast, Prague, Seoul, Shanghai, Tokyo, and of course, Seattle. They've generated hundreds of sessions, and for those at home, those are uploaded to the Epic developer community and our official YouTube channels, so you can see them even if you couldn't make it to the event itself. Hours and hours of content like myth-busting best practices, modular character creation, advanced procedural content generation pipelines, and more are available from both Epic staff speakers and our wonderful community members and partners as well. But the events aren't just about tools and tech. They're a hub of creativity and community. Major announcements take center stage, sure, but so do the human stories behind them, much like our story of student-turned-speaker that I mentioned earlier. Unreal Fest celebrated the diverse applications of Epic's tools, from cinematic storytelling in media and entertainment to real-world innovations in fields like architecture and automotive. Attendees connected over shared challenges, swapped ideas, and envisioned the future of interactive media. Any favorite Fest moments from this year? I'm going to open this question up for everybody, but I want to know what your favorite part of the past Fest were. Tim, why don't we start with you?
I was really impressed to see how much the creator community has blossomed. Last year we had the first big UEFN creator presence at Unreal Fest, and really met a lot of brilliant people who remind me a lot of myself as an indie developer 30 years ago. Like a whole new generation coming up, and last year they were just a lot of them getting their footing and starting to build businesses. As we launched the creator economy last year. This year, we're seeing an industry emerge. Lots of creators have formed up into full companies. They are doing heavy recruiting there. This year, they had massive amounts of swag, which I collected a lot of. just to, and lots of them were taking investment for investors, and we're really going about building businesses that are going to scale up and be the game developers of the future. So that was really awesome to see that, and also the cross-pollination. They were the most curious of the entire attendee group. There's constantly going up to AAA devs and filmmakers and car makers and Lockheed Martin and asking how they're doing different things. And just the amount of information exchange there and the bandwidth of it all was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Saxs? Did you have a favorite part that you wanted to talk a little more on as well?
Yeah, I think the moment that stood out for me was we did a community meetup at night after the first day of Fest, where a lot of the creators that joined Unreal Fest were there for that night. For a lot of them, it was their first time going to any type of industry event, and just I don't know, the energy, the eagerness to come and meet and talk. And I spent the whole night basically going from group to group, from creator to creator, to company, just hearing their story, and for them to pitch me their game or talk about what they're missing or what they're really excited about. Or it was just a night of speed dating, like dozens and dozens of companies. Tim was there too, and it just felt like it was just a fun night of just people that had a lot of excitement about just making games. And I don't know, I feel like I've missed that in many years. This is a great way to connect again with a very generally very young development crowd. Grew up, and a lot of them grew up in Fortnite. A lot of them just realized that they like making games, have no formal training. They didn't go to random game school or university or anything. They just like making games. I think that's how the game industry used to be, and it's really fun to be a part of giving people the opportunity to turn that into a livelihood.
Yeah, absolutely. Sjoerd, how about you? Did you have any favorite moments from Fest this year as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many awesome talks to pick from, and so much valuable information that is being shared, both from us at Epic, but also from the community overall, and from people from all over the world. So I think that in itself is really the best part about it. But if I have to pick a particularly memorable one, memorable talk, it would probably be Ari's setting up an Unreal Engine studio the Epic way talk, with the guitar performance. And I mean, it was just had a special feeling to it. So it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Ari does a great job of throwing some extra twists into his talks for sure. And then, of course, Michael, what about you? What is your favorite part as well?
Well, for me, Unreal Fest is really an opportunity to meet with our developers face to face. We get to discuss their projects. They leave me with a bag full of bugs that they would love us to fix. We try to help them with our team, and ultimately, all this feedback helps us make Unreal Engine better. But I cannot pick a favorite developer, can I? So my other favorite moment that everybody experienced happened during the keynote. And it was the genuine surprise reaction to the Megalights demo. When we just casually said it's running on PlayStation 5, it was something that, is special. I would love to experience it again. I bet the crowd simply expected that this is some high-end PC with all those thousands of lights on screen. Certainly the live stream chat completely exploded at that moment. It was a really big surprise.
Yeah, it was a really fun one that I don't think we're gonna forget. It was a huge mic drop moment, I feel, from Fest. Yeah. Those are all absolutely wonderful examples. Thank you so much. And for those who want to join in the fun next year, make sure to save the date for June 2nd through 5th. We're taking the show to Orlando next year. Our call for proposals is now open, so if you've got a topic to share, go ahead and submit by Friday, January 3rd, 2025, and you might have the chance of being a speaker at the event itself. We hope to see you there, so check that out. That'll be a lot of fun. Now, while you're waiting for the next event, we do have many local Unreal meetups around the world hosted by generous community leaders. Find folks near you to learn tools with, build new experiences, or simply meet other developers and creators. All are welcome. Visit communities.unrealengine.com to find your nearest chapter. And I'll go ahead and end our shameless plug for the Unreal meetups there, but it's a lot of fun. Definitely take the chance to check out your local chapters. They're great people, and you learn lots of great things. Something new that launched pretty recently as well that I am personally really, really excited about is the Epic for Indies initiative. Sjoerd, I figured I'd hand it off to you to kind of walk through what that is.
Yeah, so I mean, in general, supporting the indie game space has always been really important to us. You can kind of see that in, ranging from the self-publishing tools in the Epic Game Store, to, Epic Mega Grants, the Unreal Engine and online services and other tools overall, focusing on fair revenue share, royalty terms, and so on. So we really want to support this space. And so adding to that list of things, earlier this year, I believe it was September, end of September, we launched the Epic for Indies community space, which is part of the larger Epic developer community. And it's a dedicated space for indie developers that offers all indie devs, regardless of engine, so anyone is welcome, a space to connect, learn, and grow via the forums. We have regular Ask Me Anythings with fellow indie studios. We have office hours with Epic staff. We have partners involved, and so on. And so since we launched the space a few months ago, we've seen over a dozen online events. We've seen over 600 developers share from many different countries share the different games that they're working on, either via the Showcase forum or via the Tell Us About Your Game feature within the developer portal. And so it's just been really awesome to see that activity. It's been awesome to see, just inspiring to see all the games everyone works on and is releasing. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's such a special community, and I really love the idea of Epic having this place that is meant for any indie developer. It doesn't matter necessarily what engine they're using, what tools they're using or services, they get to be part of this whole process with us. Now, there's a calendar of upcoming events, so if you're interested in being able to attend any of those, you can make sure to join Epic for Indies in the Epic developer community to stay up to date, and come say hello in our official Discord server as well. We've got lots of folks there. It's a good time. That's where you can attend things like the office hours each week and all that kind of good stuff. It's a lot of fun being able to get in the grassroots of it all, so to say, and meet indies kind of on that personal level. So come hang out there. It's a lot of fun. One of our guiding stars, however, is finding more ways to support devs of all kinds, from those just getting started to seasoned developers. This year, we've expanded our resources with new documentation for those making the switch to Unreal Engine, a full-fledged Coursera Game Design Professional Certificate, and we've recently published a course on the Epic developer community containing the Unreal Fellowship Games content. With the demand for Unreal Engine skills predicted to grow by 138% globally in the next decade, there's no better time to start your journey or build up your skill set. Now, a lot of these goodies are nested within the Epic developer community itself. So, Sjoerd, would you mind giving us the highlights of the changes that have happened this past year?
For sure. So here too, just like the indie space, we really want to support the developer community. It's really important to us at Epic. And so we've continued extending and growing the Epic developer community over the course of 2024. We have added, for example, we have moved, for example, the Unreal Engine documentation was moved over to the Epic developer community and merged in with all other information that's there. We want to make sure that all information is in one place. When you use search, for example, it finds all the information, whether it's a tutorial, documentation page, forum post, it doesn't really matter. Bringing it all together in one place. We've updated and overhauled the overall UI experience. We have more closely integrated with sites such as unrealengine.com to make it easy to find. And again, discoverability of content and all that. We've added a new what you see is what you get editor for tutorials. More powerful one and easier to use. We've added organization profiles, meaning the ability to create profiles for teams and studios. We also added a user directory to search both, to search individual profiles, and we're soon also adding studio profile support to it. And we've added support for being able to use the Epic developer community if you're under 18. And it's having its effects. We've seen a steady increase of the number of people using the site to find help and information. We are seeing generally over 250,000 people a month use the site. There's over 2.3 million posts on the forum. There's 90,000 of those posts are marked as solutions. We have 4,000 plus tutorials and over 1 million profiles overall. So it's been going really well and really awesome to see everyone who contributes knowledge, everyone who helps each other on the Epic developer community. So yeah.
Yeah, this is all super, super exciting stuff. Are there any updates that might be coming next year that we can tease for the folks at home?
Yeah, so all of this is kind of subject to change, but this is what we're currently thinking about. We've already done quite a bit of search and SEO updates over the last number of months, but we do need to continue with that next year. To be honest, the ability to reliably Google and find documentation pages, for example, has been a challenge for the last number of years, really. we have been addressing that. It has been a little bit harder than we anticipated, so it's still in progress, but we're hopefully almost there now. We're currently wrapping up server-side rendering, which should resolve a key indexing issue, and early next year, we're hoping that will have led to significantly better documentation search performance. There's also, I think, a lot more possible with like the badges, and we have like community heroes and all that. So I think we should continue working with those. I think the key idea is that if you contribute valuable information, you should be able to be recognized for that. You know, the content and the information you contribute, it should be able to be highlighted. I think that's really important. We're also looking at the bug reporting process for Unreal Engine and making it consistent with how we approach it, for example, for UEFN with Fortnite. We're looking at having it be forum-based, being able to report bugs via the forum. Therefore, you can also vote and comment on each other's issues. And then if it's over a certain number of votes, it would be escalated into our internal bug process, and any escalated bugs should be able to report back the status of whatever's happening to it back to the forum. So that's kind of the general idea that we're working on. And also, we would love to figure out how we can, at some point, and this one is a little bit more complicated, but at some point, can we do community contributions, like push and pull style things for documentation? Now that documentation is part of the wider Epic developer community, and also, by the way, behind the scenes, we updated the tooling that it runs on, easy to write the documentation pages and all that for the internal team. How do we make sure that people can actually, contribute to it? And it might start off simple. I think we'll probably have to do a phase one that is more like, you can write a tutorial and then you can link that tutorial to a documentation page. Something like that is the current idea. But again, you can take this idea quite far. So it's going to be interesting to explore this. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really, really excited to see the direction it takes and hopefully being able, to get some more of those community contributions in there. That would be really fun. Thanks so much for giving us a peek behind the curtain for it. We hope that all of you will dig into these resources because they are created for you with the wish that you'll make your development journey a little bit easier with it. All right, now let's go ahead and turn the spotlight to the community. There were tons of outstanding Unreal Engine games released, announced, and teased this year. If only there were time to name them all, but unfortunately, there simply is not. So instead, we're going to call out a few highlights from this year, but by no means is this list comprehensive. Chat, in fact, I would love for you to drop your favorite UE title from the year in the comments right now so we can see what you've been enjoying. The first thing for us that we're going to be talking about is Black Myth Wukong. It's a stunning action game that took inspiration from Chinese mythology. The developers actually made the leap from Unreal Engine 4 over to Unreal Engine 5 mid-development, which launched their already incredible visuals to even higher fidelity. It's no small decision to make an engine update mid-development, but I think the results were worth it. And reportedly, so did the Black Myth Wukong team. Michael, what do you think are some of the key benefits for making the leap over to UE5 in general?
Well, yeah, first and foremost, they're really a great team. It's amazing what they made. So Epic teams have done so much work in UE5. It's really tough to enumerate without missing something out, and I'm pretty sure my messages will be full of why did you not say about this? So, of course, there is Nanite, there is Lumen, virtual shadow maps, temporal, super resolution, and many other new and improved features that allow the games to reach previously impossible levels of content fidelity. Nanite allowed us to just stop worrying about polygon counts, about LODs. Frankly, I still gasp when I hear artists just, throwing casually hundreds, millions, polygons numbers when it comes to their assets. Lumen was the thing that brought real-time global illumination to consoles, and we're really seeing the great use of it, and how artists and art directors are taking a chance to make their games look really, really nice and dynamic. The UE5 marked also our step into proper open world support. We added world partition, large world coordinates that basically mean that the assets the creators make can be vast. We really improved our AI, our navigation in these environments, and more recently, for example, we added procedural content generation system that makes it so much easier to set, dress, and populate these large worlds, and especially it's something that is now accessible to small teams, which is great. I think at this moment, Unreal Engine's real-time animation capabilities are pretty hard to match in the industry, and I'm continuously amazed by what our team is adding with each new release. So, to summarize a bit, UE5 is faster. It scales so much better nowadays. Our mobile feature set and support grew tremendously. It's so much better. Then there are things like meta sounds, chaos physics. We integrate with MetaHuman, with Quixel. The editor is growing, more and more tools with every release, and the list, goes on. And these were just a few cherry picks that are pretty much just compared to UE4 and everything that was there already.
Yeah, absolutely. All good points and reasons, though, to make that consideration of possibly, shifting a project over into 5. I can see it definitely worked out for the Wukong team. So I'm interested to see other projects, too, that may have made the leap, right? Another example of some great games made in UE, we have PAX Day. It's a vast social sandbox MMO inspired by legends of the medieval era. Build a home, go exploring, or pick any kind of gameplay that will suit your individual needs. The possibilities seem truly endless in this massive undertaking of a game. And then one story that is near and dear to us is that of Manor Lords as well. It's a medieval strategy game that dives deep into the intricacies of city building, sweeping tactical battles, and social hierarchy. An amazing title that was developed by a solo developer. Not only that, but they attracted millions of wish lists and the attention of major gaming publications. Michael, there's tons of things to consider when building out a full game, especially as a solo developer. So I'm curious, do you think you would ever try it?
Well, I actually did try it at school. I built my own tiny, cute little 2D engine, my own editor for it, my own scripting language. I drew my own sprites, my own animation, and made this tiny, small competitive game in the whole environment. I could probably best describe it as a mix between Pac-Man and Bomberman, and all of those efforts were to get a bunch of points in a C++ course. So, talk about overdoing it. Now, I know for sure that there are quite a few people like that at Epic, so I feel pretty comfortable in this company. But back to Manor Lords, wow, it's impossible to compare, of course. It's what an achievement that game is. It's complex, it's fun, it is great looking, it's done by a single person, and it's two started actually in UE4 and switched to UE5. So I think it's great to see that a mature tool set, just like UE, does allow the small teams and even individuals to just jumpstart their project and start and focus on the game, on the creativity, making it fun, without all the hassle of just first having to invest years and years into building technology and then, taking the time until they finally see first pixels and they can start making the game. So amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Another great example too is Wuthering Waves, which is an open world action game. It's an incredibly successful example of a stylized game created with the engine, and I really wanted to make sure that we highlighted this one because I feel like there's kind of this misconception, right, of that the engine is exclusively for hyper-realistic, high-fidelity graphics, which of course it does excel at, but you can also make these really interesting, colorful, interesting, stylized sorts of examples as well, like Wuthering Waves. It's beautiful, the colors pop out, and it's something that you might not expect to always see, and it was implemented incredibly well, and I think is definitely a standout project as far as Unreal Engine ones go. All of these projects showcased the breathtaking potential of developers using Unreal Engine, right? And many of them are also being lauded for it. Quite a few of these titles that we just talked about were nominated for the Game Awards this year. We'd be remiss to not mention some of the other incredible Unreal Engine-powered projects representing this evening as well. We have nominees that also include Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Pacific Drive. But there's also some not just traditional games that are going on. Saxs, do you want to talk about any of the islands?
Yeah, for the second year in a row, we are a category of the Game Awards is Fortnite Islands, which is super fun, super awesome, and we're still kind of figuring out what's the right format for this. But right now, if you go to Fortnite, you can go to the Game Awards Island, and you can see the 10 islands that were nominated by the Game Awards to be sort of outstanding islands for the year. You can vote on them, and tonight is going to be part of one of the categories at the Game Awards. So it's just a fun way to figuring out like how to like spotlight like the best islands that we're seeing throughout the year, and collaboration with Game Awards has been awesome. So I think like I look forward to seeing the Game Awards tonight and seeing all the traditional games, all the Fortnite Islands, all the everything, and just a celebration of our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, yeah, make sure that you do check out the shows tonight because it is tonight, and there's a lot of really interesting nominations and awards going on. Really excited to see how it all pans out. But while we're talking about awards specifically, Fallout, the Amazon series, was also nominated for Best Adaptation. The beautiful show utilized a ton of impressive Unreal-powered virtual production techniques, helping to bring the apocalyptic world you all know and love to life. They shared their creative and technical processes at Unreal Fest Seattle, so be sure to check that out on the VOD that we have available on our YouTube channel if you want kind of a behind-the-scenes peek at how they ended up implementing some of the technologies there. And during this year's 96 Academy Awards, War Is Over won the Oscar for Best Animated Short Film and made history as the first Unreal Engine 5 project to do so. For those unfamiliar, the film follows a carrier pigeon as it delivers messages between two World War I frontline soldiers playing a chess game, who are both unaware that they are fighting on opposite sides. It's a truly beautiful short film, and it has a very, very touching story, and it was inspired by the music of John and Yoko. Tim, in regards to this, how does it feel to see UE teams doing things like winning Oscars?
It's awesome, and this is the culmination of something we've been hoping would happen in the industry for decades, literally. There's always been this idea of convergence, of different kinds of media coming together into a common language, and everybody's content work being universal. The ability to move assets between games and movies and film and television. And to take cars from automotive companies and their design prototypes and use those in marketing and bring them into games, like the many Fortnite car collaborations and crossovers. And this is really happening now at a huge scale. I think this is one of the biggest changes that the industry is going through. And it's this idea of universal content that runs everywhere, and it speaks a common language of real-time 3D is, I think, one of the biggest trends that's upending gaming right now. We're really, really fortunate to be on the right side of this. But the entire Unreal Engine community is working with these tools and Epic and our first-party games and our creator community. But it's an exciting time, and I think this will continue. And the idea is that everything should be possible everywhere. And as levels of visual fidelity increase and GPUs get more and more powerful, we'll be able to see absolutely any content move seamlessly from film and television into games, into the real world and back.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of War Is Over, we highly encourage you to watch the complete short film. Just make sure to have some tissues ready, just in case. And they were kind enough to do a spotlight with us on their use of Unreal Engine, if you're interested in seeing more on that as well. Some other standouts from the year that utilized the engine were films like Piece by Piece, an animated Lego brick retelling of the life story of Pharrell Williams, the accomplished singer, songwriter, and record producer, and, of course, Dune Part 2, which used Unreal during pre-production to help visualize and nail those instantly classic desert scenes, cutting down on precious time spent filming out in the elements. Another cool story comes from when Fish performed at the Sphere in Las Vegas. They expected their set to be about 70% pre-rendered scenes and 30% real-time with Unreal Engine, but by the time everything was said and done, the split was actually closer to about 50-50 between pre-rendered and real-time, which is pretty cool. It's always great to see the engine get used in new and inventive ways across different industries with widely varying audiences. And I think this year in particular was a great one, like you said, and being able to show that and see that. Something new for our teams this year as well was Project Titan, a monumental global collaboration art jam and our largest community effort to date. Sjoerd, you have some of the details on how that went. Do you mind walking us through it?
Yeah. I mean, this is such a cool and crazy project. It's crazy. So this is the first time that we've done a collaborative sample game project with a wider community. And I think it worked out really, really well. So much love and care has gone into it from all the contributors. And there's so much variety if you look through the world and, all the different areas that are there. So 5,700 people participated in this, resulting in over 18,000 Perforce submissions. And just imagine that alone already for a moment, right? Imagine running a Perforce server with thousands of people from all over the world submitting content for the same level into it. That's what this project was. And so again, really cool to see. It's been released last week. It's a sample game project. It's 64 square kilometers open world, 9 different biomes, 50 gigs worth of content. We couldn't have done this without everyone's contribution. So all of this is thanks to everyone who contributed into the project and turned this into such a nice world.
Yeah, absolutely. And this project wasn't just about content either, right? It was about teamwork with creators coming together to build something extraordinary. And also, Fred, if you know, you know. You can download the sample now on Fab, which, speaking of Fab, the brand new marketplace launched in October. It'll be our one-stop shop for ready-to-use digital assets for everyone. And while we're excited for what Fab will hold in the future, we also want to recognize we have some work to do to deliver on our goals. So I want to just kind of open the floor to both you, Tim and Sjoerd, if you had any comments you wanted to put on it.
Yeah, thanks. Fab is the beginning of a very long-term investment by Epic to build a content marketplace and ecosystem for the future, featuring giant amounts of community source content from everybody in the world, serving all kinds of projects, in all industries, and interoperable with content, with all of the different digital content creation packages. Right? Fab goes beyond Unreal Engine Marketplace and supports every DCC tool, Unreal Engine and Unity. More engines coming over time, and really aspires to go a very long way with this and do something that goes way beyond what these marketplaces have done in the past. But it got off to a rocky launch. I'd really like to apologize to everybody for the state of Fab when it launched. We have huge aspirations, but what we launched was just a very, very, very basic version of what's coming. And the team understands that. We've heard the feedback, and we're doing a lot to redeploy the teams to update everything and get on track. The one bit of good news is that there was a huge, massive changeover from Unreal Engine Marketplace and Sketchfab Marketplace to Fab, but the business continues to go strong for sellers. Most of the seller performance is about the same as it was in Unreal Engine Marketplace, not a drop, despite some loss of search functionality and other core features. And now we have a whole new cohort of Unity asset developers coming in and marketing their stuff on Fab, with the key feature being cross-engine ownership. You buy the thing once, you buy an asset once, and it works in Unreal and it works in Unity, and you have versions of it for DCC tools, and so it's really trying to aspire to be the more universal thing. So I'd like to express gratitude for all of the creators who've participated in the transition and have been putting up with the changes as we've gone through them. And really grateful for everybody's participation.
Yeah, I second that. And we also want to thank everyone for all the feedback and input that everyone has posted. It's been rightfully so being called out that Fab is missing bits of functionality and there's a lot to improve. And as Tim has said, we are really committed to fixing these things. So as part of that, we put the Fab roadmap online about 2 weeks ago. We also did a dedicated live stream at the same time to talk about all the near future improvements we're making more in detail. So I'm just going to summarize those here. But if you look at our roadmap, then we have an initial, and we view the whole roadmap as the initial set of improvements. Initial set of improvements focused on workflow, discoverability, and usability overall. And there's going to be more that needs to be done after these items. So again, initial set. So the roadmap is which is part of the Fab space and the Epic developer community. In the first column, we see search. So that's our first priority. We want to make sure that, for example, overall improved search ranking where higher quality results surface better. Things like full match should have priority over partial match, meaning if you search for rock, you should find a rock and not rocking chairs. Some initial search syntax like exact match for, you want to be able to search for specifically dots, bat, space, extension, for example, and find that. Improved handling of tags. So if you search, for example, for handgun blueprint, you should find the right assets and it should give more weight to, the tag blueprint. And if we can get that right, then it's going to be allow people to search assets via keywords, basically. The keywords get more weight. Search suggestions, including creator names, tag suggestions, and so on. So that's kind of what we're looking at for search. In fact, some of those improvements have actually gone live today, and we have more work to be done. And we have additional things that are going to come online over the coming weeks. Beyond search, we're going to overhaul the UI. We're going to make it better to navigate. We're going to add many more filter and sorting options. We want to look at comments via generated forum threads. We want to add wish lists. We want to add text reviews, overall product page improvements, and so forth. So there's all kinds of stuff on the way and improvements we're making as part of making Fab the best experience that we can. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as you said, Sjoerd, we held a whole live stream dedicated exclusively to Fab a few weeks ago, and that is currently available on our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to learn more, you can check out that show, and we'll go ahead and drop a link to it in the chat right now for those of you interested in diving into that topic a little bit further. In the spirit of Epic Marketplaces, we now also release new free content every 2 weeks. So if you haven't been stopping by, be sure to visit and snag those assets. We'd also like to give a shout out to all the sellers that have been part of our free content initiatives. Thank you genuinely so much for providing products for others to use and learn from. It is incredibly kind of you and is a huge and helpful resource for devs of all stations who are just getting started or who are building up a backlog or who have been doing this for forever. You are a huge part in their success and ours. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. 2025 was a big year in general, but specifically also for Fortnite Creative and Unreal Editor for Fortnite. Loads of new tools and resources are now available for the community, and there are truly unique and innovative experiences. Saxs, I'd figure I'd hand it off to you if you wanted to kind of elaborate further on that.
Yeah, you said 2025. And my heart stopped for a second.
We're already there.
I know, it's frightening. Yeah, 2024 was a big year for UEFN, and with a lot of wins and a lot of I wish we could do that better. But I think that some of the some of the things I'm really proud of is earlier this year, and we've been doing a couple of events were done entirely in UEFN. One of them was the Metallica live event that we did earlier this year. That was done by Magnum Opus, an external developer that used UEFN in its most vanilla form to make the event and publish the event. And it gave us so much valuable information about where we're at with the tools and where developers are still struggling and where we can do better, but very much also what is UEFN capable of today. So it was awesome. It was a huge moment for the team to see the concept go live.
Yeah.
But also I don't know, it's kind of what it should be. These are tools that we give to creators. So yes, it measures what a creator is capable of doing, but also from a player perspective, it looks like this was done in native UE, and shows we're getting closer and closer to the point where our Fortnite developers and Fortnite creators can do things that are exactly what our first party teams can do, what the Battle Royale team can do.
Yeah.
So that was one of them. We also did another event with KOG and similar same results, that we just got a little bit further, it got a little bit better, and hopefully by 2025 like more and more of these events can be done in UEFN with no compromises.
Yeah, absolutely. I do really want to emphasize the point that you mentioned that, especially for the Metallica instance as well, that they used the live version of the software at the time. They had no special access or builds or anything like that. It was a really great example of what an experienced team can accomplish with those kinds of tools. And for those who might be interested in seeing how they did it, they actually came on and were guests on our Creating in Fortnite show, and they also did a session at Unreal Fest this year going on it as well. And you can view both of those online on our YouTube channels. It's a masterclass of pushing creative boundaries for sure.
Yeah, and we've done a few other of those types of projects over the last year. Another one we was Reimagine London, where we went and partnered with an architecture firm based out of London on just like city designs, and like from our perspective, it's just a good exercise in like how the tools work, what you're capable of doing with the tools, but also if an architecture firm is able to express what they want to. This is a particularly daring and sort of future leaning firm that really wanted to dive into like modern city designs. And we used UEFN and Verse to just make like these very modular city designs possible, where players get to design their own city and they get to see how the city is working and get to balance out sort of all the resources that you need to make a sustainable city. So, and like fun example for us, it at the time was one of the most complex Verse implementations we'd ever made, and like it showed us a lot of the bottlenecks we still have in Verse and a lot of the bottlenecks that we have on the virtual machine, and just what's the complexity we can execute, and leads us to in 2025 we're coming out with a new VM that is orders of magnitude faster, that hopefully we can make these types of experiences like a lot easier than we could before. And then another collaboration we had was with the European Space Agency, where we worked on we called it Lunar Horizon, which is just a fun immersive 3D experience of a simulated lunar mission, landing on the moon, low gravity, jumping around on the moon, collecting resources, that sort of thing. And all these are just like they're picked because they highlight a different aspects of the tool set. It allows us to dog food, as we say internally, like to use our own tools to make something that we to a quality that we can be proud of. And often, like what happens after these exercises, we leave with a very long to-do list of these are all the things that we need to do better.
Yeah, I'd like to add on the topic of dog fooding, basically Epic using our own technology ourselves. This has been something that's been an increasing effort with UEFN. You know, the first-person shooter effort we just launched recently is largely powered by UEFN. And you know, there's a lot we can do with the community telling us what they don't like about our tool set, but nothing is as powerful as our own artists trying to use them and running into those problems themselves, because they're a lot closer to the development team, and you know, they're unavoidable. You know, a while back, somebody had posted a tweet on a day in the life of Fortnite after Epic had moved to UEFN, and it was hilarious. Long story short, everything is broken all the time. But the reason it's not going to be broken in the future is that we're using it more and more for our own work. We're going to get to the point where we, a few years from now, are building all of Fortnite in this tool set, the same tool set that's and the same feature set that's available to creators, and that's how it's going to be awesome. And for the AAA developers who've been with Epic for years or decades, yeah, you know the reason you can trust our engine is largely because we feel your pain. We're using it every day ourselves too, and every day we use it, we find problems and we make them better with a really tight feedback loop. And as that comes online more and more with UEFN, as we build more of our stuff in it, it's going to get better and better. And this is going to be one of the really exciting things happening in 2025 and 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. With the idea of like all these wildly different projects as well, right? I'm curious if you feel we'll continue to see such diverging island experiences as the tools expand and more people begin using them.
Well, that's certainly our hope, is that we started with Fortnite, and very much the genesis of Fortnite Creative was modding Fortnite. But what we quickly saw was that people were stretching those very simple tools we gave 5 years ago now. They stretched them to the max, and they really wanted to make a lot more than just Fortnite. And UEFN is to say, no, we're going to extend the entire functionality of UE to all of Fortnite. But that's easier said than done. And at the same time, we're also preparing for like Epic's vision of the future of an open metaverse, like demands like a very different tool set, and we chose to take on that challenge in a dual prompt fashion. That we're evolving UE obviously, but we're also evolving like sort of a modern way of making games through UEFN. So as we see these different divergent experiences, like that is exactly what we're hoping to see more of. Like this year was the year of the tycoon. Like a lot of tycoon games were made, and huge amount of playtime like sat in tycoon games. Next year, we're hoping that a lot more social casual games are going to shoot up, because we know that we're releasing a ton of features that are specifically unlocks for people to make new genres. But the reason why tycoon games came out is because we released a save game device. That was a lot more granular than we've done before. All of a sudden, you could save progression. All of a sudden, these long multi-session games were possible, and a whole new genre showed up. So that's the goal for this year and next year. I just came right before this from reviewing like what are we going to do for 2025, and I left like so excited because these are all the things I hope we were going to do in 2024, but things just take time. But through 2024, we did release like a lot of things, like none bigger than where we're capping the year off with a first person mode that just went live yesterday.
Yeah.
With Ballistic. As Tim was saying, like Ballistic, that team, which internally was called Feral, that team, like that's a battle hardened first party team that was asked to do a 5v5 tactical shooter with UEFN and report back on everything they were missing, and they're not shy about that. Like like Tim was in emergency meetings of the like this is like our workflows are broken, like we can't throw as many, like artists are not working as fast, this is what we need. And then like getting a group of programmers together, fixing all the workflow, committing it, moving on to the next problem. And we've spent the last like year very much in that mode of getting like real feedback and solving real problems to just not just for us, but also for all our creators. That's the mode we like operating in, like heavy dogfooding, and then a focus on new genres.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some really interesting tools that came out this year as well. Specifically, I was wondering if you would mind walking through what you consider some of the highlights.
Yeah, there's a ton of things we released this year that we've seen make a real difference. Like proximity chat, for example, is a simple feature on the surface, but if you want to release that safely to an audience of all ages, like it turns out it's actually really difficult. We're really proud of the implementation, and it's been put into a ton of like games that you would expect, like social deduction type games or like social games in general. Like it's been a real game changer for those types of games. We've introduced a lot of analytics to creators, so they have way more insights into like how the game is performing, where players get stuck, how quickly they progress, like all the things that you need as a professional developer to make good decisions about the next iteration. A lot of things around like sort of internal things like NPC spawners and what have you, that have all made it a little more possible to make new genres. Yesterday we released chat, like text chat, again without flavor on it, and sort of fully integrated into all our age gating and all the other systems that we provide for developers. But text chatting went live this morning with Brick Life, like the new Lego social game that we released. Again, we used that game to really drive requirements for what like an awesome text chat experience should feel like, and then released it all to creators at the same time.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's another direction I want to learn more about from both you and Tim potentially, and that's Verse. Lots of changes are always happening to Verse. It's constantly getting updated and improved, right? So what's the latest on it? Where are we heading?
I can take that one. So Verse has a very high aspiration. It aims to be the scripting language that powers the future of gaming, and enables developers to do things that are just not practical to do today. And it started from a relatively modest beginnings, but so there are really two fronts of development. First of all, we're expanding the API set, the functions you call, to make things happen in the world. The biggest of the APIs that's most impactful for creators is the scene graph, basically enabling you to use object-oriented programming techniques to traverse and update and change and inspect all of the objects that exist in the island you're on in code. So this is how you're going to be able to build arbitrarily complex and powerful systems that interact with the world and build them conveniently as well. Then there's the language feature set, which is growing over time. And then there's the software stack that Verse runs on, the virtual machine and the compiler and so on. And we're both developing the current generation of those things at full speed, but we're also working on the next generation virtual machine and starting to do early development on the next generation of the compiler. Each of these will add more features, add more performance, and with more performance, you'll be able to do things that aren't currently possible either for performance reasons sometimes and for API reasons in other cases. But we're on a relatively fast-moving trajectory now, which will get us from the current state of Fortnite up to the full power of the Unreal Engine exposed to everybody in a convenient and easy-to-use scripting language. And though it started as a relatively small scripting language for interfacing with just Verse devices in the world, it's becoming a much bigger thing. If you look at how a modern web browser stack works, the future of game development in Unreal Engine is rather similar to that, right? There's a rendering engine. The web is just 2D. Unreal Engine is world-class 3D. There's a scene graph that's like the document object model in the web browser, and then there's a scripting language, JavaScript. Then there's a very rich set of APIs, both provided by the framework, the browser itself, but also independent libraries built by independent developers. And so one of the big features we're working on with Verse is the ability for anybody to take modules of code and arbitrary content, not just meshes and textures, but smart objects that encapsulate both content and behavior and release those as modules, distribute them to other users for free, or in some cases paid through Fab, and enable modular development. And we envision the future of development in this ecosystem isn't going to be everybody builds everything all by themselves. It's going to be very modular with reusable components. Somebody builds an awesome inventory system that does just what you want for your role-playing game. Great, go get a copy of it and use that rather than building your own. That's the name of the game, and those are going to be the major investments over the next couple of years.
I think we had hoped, like, scene graph is a game changer for from switching to an entity component style game development. And we had hoped to take the experimental flag off this December, but as we were reviewing the feature set, there were just a few things that we needed to get right before we can do that. So sometime early next year, we should get to that point. But that really marks the beginning line of seeing a different way to develop bespoke experiences, deep experiences, because it not only gives you a lot of control over how your scene is constructed, but through what Tim was describing, the API access, you have an easy, convenient way to orchestrate all core components of the engine into exactly the type of game that you would want to, and you can start building bespoke characters from bottoms up. Physics simulation all of a sudden comes alive, like all the things that you expect from an UE5 developer perspective that don't necessarily have a place in Fortnite today. All becomes available to all creators when we go out with Scene Graph sometime early next year. So huge amount of effort on that point that all of us are very focused on just getting these APIs right, because we this is sort of the future of how we want people to interact with the engine. On the other side, we've released a ton of learning materials this year, through templates of just these are the things that sort of change, what can you make with UEFN. And we find templates are a really powerful way to communicate. So we've released social templates like the village template that sort of helps you construct a top-down traditional Animal Crossing style game. We've released like MetaHuman templates, driving templates, tycoon templates, like templates that so you have a good place to start to see like how Verse interacts with the engine and how it works, or it works with Fortnite. And then finally, like we have some collaboration with some IP that like with Lego and Rocket Racing, Fall Guys, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that all are like they're like story starters for creators to go and make games with their favorite IP. Like you can make a Turtles beat 'em up with that is not an official Turtles game that anybody that signs a simple agreement that they can now, like for all intents and purposes, license Turtles, make the game they want to make, publish it, and pay a simple licensing fee, but otherwise participate fully in the Fortnite economy. We find like that's been tremendously engaging for creators is to get access to these things that normally are locked behind like really difficult contracts and really difficult relationships with IP holders that are very particular about like how their IP should be used. So we made good inroads on that last year, and there's a lot more to go here. But like TMNT has done really well. Like there's a lot of islands there that are I've sunk personally like I don't know 6-8 hours into the Pizza Tycoon because I'm somehow a sucker for tycoon games. Um, and I was speaking to that developer yesterday, and he can sort of trace like every time we release something, like this is what enables him to be able to make that tycoon game that he always wanted to make. So it's been a really fun year on just advancing along a whole bunch of fronts. But as we usually say, like Tim, like all we do is look forward to the next year because it can't possibly be as difficult as this year.
Yeah, and I'd like to add the ability for Epic to license IP from all of these different companies. Star Wars content, Marvel content, and all of these things that have made their way into Fortnite outfits, and also partnerships like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where we're exposing content creators under interesting licensing terms. It's kind of some of the unsung participants in the game industry are lawyers, and it's really difficult and expensive to negotiate with the big companies to get the right to do those things. But Epic's had the very good fortune of being successful and being able to do those things ourselves and then share the results with creators. So like, if you're a Fortnite creator and you're a 3-person team, like implicitly part of your team is a bunch of folks here who are making the business side of this work for you, and using our scale to negotiate things that wouldn't be possible for a small size creator to do typically. And there's a really interesting way that that kind of Fortnite is changing things in the world right now.
Yeah, definitely. I love being able to see creators use these tools to make experiences with these very near and dear IPs. It's a really cool, fun moment to see them involved, and again, kind of crossing that bridge between what we can do and what they can do. Everyone can do it together now. Very cool. Awesome. Well, with that, I know there's a couple of out-of-game resources and improvements. Saxs, I didn't know if you wanted to mention any of those as well, or?
No, I think I'll just say that like there's a lot of the behind-the-scenes improvement around Creator Portal and like I don't know quality of life for creators that we've spent a lot of effort on this year around the ability for creators to get like real-time stats, like the ability to creators to get. We released a creator marketing playbook that sort of helps step by step of how should you think about marketing your island. We released favorite creators so they can start building like sort of a semblance of community, and we're going to do a lot more on that like come next year. I think in general, like we've done a lot of legwork towards like making the creator community more like the ability for creators to sort of cultivate their own community. But next year is really going to be the time when we turn that on and put all the pieces together. Hopefully that from a creator perspective feels like you can really start finding your audience and speaking to your audience.
Yeah, definitely. And those are all huge changes, of course, to Fortnite and Fortnite Creative and Unreal Editor for Fortnite, but it's been a big year for Unreal Engine too. 5.4 and 5.5 introduced a host of transformative tools that empower developers to bring their visions to life with greater efficiency and realism. Michael, I was wondering, would you be willing to walk us through some of this year's highlights as far as the engine goes?
No, but of course. So first, Unreal Engine 5.4. I think it was really, really big on animation in the editor. We actually animated the Lego Fortnite Odyssey completely in Unreal, which you can find there. Things like modular control rig, which is a pretty game-changing feature for animators because it enables you to create these rig components that you can reuse everywhere and then just click together full character rig with ease. There is retargeting coming with it. There is better deformation. Another thing which I feel is worth mentioning is the motion matching that we shown on GDC. It's production ready now. We actually did ship Fortnite Battle Royale with it on all platforms just before that. Motion matching is a great way of creating fluid animations in Unreal because you can supply the engine with a database of different poses, and then instead of painstakingly, building a sort of like a state machine saying if the character does this, then switch to this animation, the runtime actually goes and seamlessly switches between different poses, making for really fluid jumps, rolls, and everything. The debugging around this is great. You can see what the engine actually is going to do. You can affect it really easily. So animation, wow, what an investment here. Of course, there were shiny pixels as well. Nanite got quite a few updates in 5.4 and actually following 5.5 as well. We added Nanite tessellation so that we can add more dynamic detail to surfaces without actually reauthoring the content. Think stuff like cracks, wear, procedural detail. Everything is available from the shader to affect the look. Nowadays, we actually have experimental support for Nanite skinning. So I think we are at the cusp of seeing really detailed characters in large numbers on screen. Something for more of a movie community. Movie render graph is a new feature that enables a whole new approach to cinematic renders. Basically, you can go and set up movie shots using node graph, setting it up all in the detail you want. For big teams, this also means that they can actually once go and set up a very complex multi-view workflows. So, and feed the data to it. We added render layer support, which means you can do things like separate foreground from background, and perhaps introduce a live footage in between or add motion blur in a post-processing package if you wish. So it's something that has really been asked for in the community. And then Unreal Engine 5.5 landed Megalites, which I think is probably one of our biggest and most surprising reveals this year because we took a few months and took this long distant dream of a nanite for light system and took it from a research project into something that we can call experimental in 5.5. And we can go and support hundreds of shadow casting lights on screen in real time. I think it really does transform how we and the community will think about real-time lighting. As we were making this demo, it was really amazing to see the shift in the approach. Artists were just playing with lights, and they were focusing on look and feel of the scene, what's important. Previously, last few days, perhaps weeks of the project would be us sitting in a room and arguing which lights stay, which do we have to remove, where do we remove shadows so that it fits the performance. But with the Megalites, we were sitting in a room and discussing whether the light looks good and if we need to add more. It's really I think a paradigm shift that we'll see once the community adopts it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the reaction to Megalites in general from the community was genuinely incredible. Like you mentioned at Fest, it was probably one of the coolest parts of just seeing everybody lose their minds over what Megalites was and what was possible. And I'm really excited to see what folks end up doing with it in the future, too. It was a really cool moment for all of us.
I completely agree. It's incredible reveal, and actually within days, perhaps even hours after we released the Unreal version, we've seen people adopting it and playing around with content and posting videos. It was amazing reaction. But of course, Unreal 5.5, there is so much more in there. Some of it is great improvements on the features that we had added in 5.4. For example, we continued the animation journey. We expanded the in-editor animation tooling. We expanded rigging. It's better debugging. It's much easier to work with the deformers we have. MetaHuman Animator is one of the things that received a pretty significant update, which I think especially small developers will appreciate, because you can go and pretty much generate a complete facial animation just from an audio track, and then you can go and adjust it as well. We, of course, polished the motion render graph I just mentioned further, so that's now beta. And then there are some completely new features. The one I would like to highlight is the mutable character customization systems, which allows you to go and create all sorts of different variants of characters, different jackets, different hats. What does the character wear? What is the color of, the pants? What are the shoes? You name it. And everything adapts to it. The rig adapts, the textures adapt, the materials as you need. And all of this is happening in real time in game, which means there is very little of performance and memory footprint loss compared to, let's say, generating all these different variants offline and trying to load it all in game. So I think that's another one that's great. Of course, rendering. I think in 5.5 we finally could go and say that our path tracer is production ready. The denoising is awesome this time around, and it's being used in offline production. Added to it, Substrate became beta. That's our new material system. So it changes the way you work with materials. Instead of noodling with very detailed graphs, you can go and think about materials as a series of layers. So you can make very complex multi-layered paints, or very complex materials where, I don't know, cloth seamlessly transfers into metal. I'm just trying to imagine something. So, with all of this, it's really fantastic to see how far we came between the early access of UE5, where we show Nanite and Lumen, into 5.5, where with every version we see coming, there is something new, something brilliant that just empowers creators to push the artistic and technical boundaries, so that they can go and create experiences that blur the line between imagination and reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, these updates are more than just new features too, right? They're powerful tools designed to elevate creative freedom and make high quality development achievable for everyone. If you had to pick just one as your personal favorite from the bunch, what do you think it would be?
I'm going to pick something that we don't show often because it's hard, and that's all the effort that we do when it comes to developer efficiency. As Tim said earlier, we have the artists here. We feel the pain. They shout at us. We don't like it. So we try to make things better. I don't know if you could recall, but on GDC during the keynote, when Simon mentioned that we reduced the amount of shader compilations that you see when the editor launches, that had a huge applause. We can add all the shiny pixels we want, but what the developer will remember is the 100,000 shaders that when they launch the editor. So we really are investing into this. It's an ongoing process. In every version of Unreal, you go and see like Cloud DDC, or you can use a thing called Zen Snapshots to just pull the build and launch it on a device. And I'm really actually excited about 2025 and all the things that the team brings in this area. So I know that's me. I don't know anybody else.
Oh, it's a good question. If anyone else has particular features or things that they've enjoyed this past year, feel free to just toss it in there for the engine.
I love all of my features equally.
Yes, true answer there. Awesome. Well, the Epic Games Store also had a really exciting year, expanding its reach to both iOS and Android, meaning more players can access their favorite games on the go, while developers can share their creations with a global audience more easily than ever. But that's not all. We also announced that starting January 1st, 2025, the Launch Everywhere with Epic initiative will be available for Unreal Engine games. By launching your games on the Epic Games Store, first or simultaneously with other platforms, developers will benefit from a reduced royalty rate from 5% to 3.5% across all platforms and stores, including consoles. Even games participating in the Epic First Run program are still eligible for this reduction. These are some pretty major updates for us. What do you hope will come from these, Tim?
Well, our aim is to jumpstart competition among stores so that all developers have access to much better deals and that there's a vibrant base of developers and consumers who are reaching each other through these more efficient channels. You know, if there's one thing the last decade has taught us, is that the App Store monopolies like Apple's and Google's are really good at monopolizing. And, you know, the dominant PC store, Steam, is really good at dominating. And you know, to break through that noise, we're going to have to do massive things to make coming to the Epic Games Store and other competing stores a lot more attractive. This is one set of programs that make it much more worthwhile now for all Unreal Engine developers to come to the Epic Games Store on all platforms that they want to support, and to nurture and jumpstart a new ecosystem where there's competition. And you know, there's a fundamental point here that I think a lot of consumers don't realize because they're not close to the economics of it. But you know, very few game companies and very few times in the industry have had 30% profit margins. And so when an app store takes 30% off the top, they're consuming more than all of the natural profit from the game, which means that the developer's having to compensate by raising their prices. Now there's less sales happening because the prices are too high, and it really dampens everything and greatly limits the ability of a developer to reinvest in development of their own games. And right now, you know, with the industry under pressure, every mobile developer, every PC game developer, every developer in every market is really under financial pressure. It's hard to earn enough money from building games that you can afford to hire and retain awesome people to build those games. And jumpstarting competition is going to do that. And we're doing it comprehensively, and we're dedicated for doing this for as long as it takes, even if it's a decade or more. You know, and since we launched the fight against the Apple and Google monopolies in 2020, and earlier since we began competing with Steam in 2018, we've done a lot in these areas, and we're going to continue to do more. And you know, the rest of this decade is going to be a really exciting time as we roll out more and more advantages to coming to alternative and competing stores. And I should say, this is not just Epic Games Store trying to become the next dominant store or the next monopoly. We've, with our own first-party games on mobile, when Apple and Google were forced to open up their ecosystems to competition in the European Union, we brought our games, also to Alt Store, and we committed to coming to the One Store, the big Korean independent store, and we'll come to other stores over time too. Any store that offers all developers a great deal, we're on board on all platforms that they support. And this is something that more and more game developers are going to have to start really reckoning with. Either step up and start choosing alternative stores and start nurturing competition, or pay a 30% rent on, pay out most of your profit to a company that does nothing for you for the rest of your time in the industry, and that sucks. And we're trying to make it not suck.
Yes, that's the goal, and I think we're doing a good job on getting there for sure. There was also, you had a really great talk on a similar topic at Fest. So I also wanted to let folks at home know that they can watch that if they want to learn more about your thoughts and the idea on the Epic Game Store and just opening that economy in general. So make sure you'll check that out if you have the chance. But that is everything for our show. So we're closing the chapter to yet another epic year with loads of opportunities on the horizon. Tim, as we look forward to next year, now that we've wrapped this one nice with a nice little bow and everything, what aspirations do you have for 2025? What should folks at home look forward to from us next?
Well, you know, the time we're in right now, it's very unique. It's kind of the best of times and the worst of times. If you look at what's happening with Fortnite, or, you know, other games, a few games like Wukong, Marvel Rivals, there's a renaissance of awesome games, you know, growing and succeeding and entertaining players in new ways and constantly innovating. And this is also happening in the midst of a AAA game business that's, you know, in turmoil. And it's becoming increasingly hard for a lot of companies to succeed. Now, lots of people have lots of different theories for it, but ultimately, what powers this business is fun, right? The only constant you can find between games in the 1980s to games today is fun. And you know, whether your budget is, you know, pizza money for a college student acting alone, or if you're a AAA game studio spending billions of dollars a year making games, it all comes down to delivering fun. And well, our job as a tool maker is to deliver tools so that you can deliver fun, and to also try to make it as economical as possible for all content creators of all sorts to make great content and to reach users with it. So. Yeah, we've been honored to help everybody who's in the Epic ecosystem in some way. You know, when we first started these live streams, it was hundreds of thousands of people, and now it's you know, I think over 1 million developers, and it's you know, over 100 million gamers. Gosh, closer to 200 million gamers now when you count all of the Epic ecosystem activity. So we're really honored to be a supplier to everybody here. And we're looking forward to decades more of doing this and to sticking true to our values and to fighting on for what's right for all developers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we wrap up this incredible year, I just want to say thank you both to our wonderful guests, Tim, Saxs, Michal, and Sjoerd, and also to everyone in our community. Whether you're just starting your development journey, building your first game, or leading a team on the cutting edge of technology, you're an integral part of what makes this journey so special. 2025 is packed with exciting plans, and we can't wait to see what we'll create together. Thank you all so much for watching. Genuinely, this has been such a joy, and happy holidays to everyone. We'll see you soon, and that's it for today. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Happy holidays.